Hey guys, welcome into another episode of 410 Sports Talk. James Haskell here with my co-host Glenn Martin. Today we're going to get into what everyone has been talking about, and that of course is COVID-19 in relation to the NFL season, how it will impact it, what we have been hearing from all of our inside sources, and what we think the outcome will be. So I'm going to lay out a couple scenarios here, and then if I miss any, Glenn, let me know.
Yeah.
I did read an article the other day that one, something to think about is the NFL, when they made the schedule, they did consider that there could be a delaying in the season starting in general. So not necessarily a shortened season, but pushing it back, say 3 to 4 weeks. So that's definitely a possibility. Another one would be shortening the season. Another would be starting on time without fans. And then, of course, the other one, the ideal would be that it starts on time with fans, and worst case scenario, burn down the house, no season.
Oh,
Don't
say it. Say it ain't so.
But it's been tough so far. Glenn, let me know what are some of your thoughts on those scenarios, and which one are you leaning toward thinking will happen?
Well, the good news is that the Ravens have already reopened their Under Armour Performance Center Tuesday under the Phase 1, so we're not talking players and coaches are being allowed in the building, but there are some video crew and some maintenance and cleaning facilities and grounds crew and some medical staff or some rehabbing players are allowed in. But so it's a step one, but it's a step in the right direction. So hopefully, if all goes well, not just with the Ravens, but with the state of Maryland and the whole country, hopefully we can kind of keep going towards these deadlines, I guess they're trying to hit. And basically, the way all we can do is kind of go off what we're hearing from the experts and the people involved. So, I'm looking towards, what the coaching staff and what even the president, Dick Cass, was recently on the lounge, the Ravens.com podcast, and he seems to be optimistic. Now, I don't know if that's what he just has to say or it's his true belief, but I guess we can only take him at his word. And he seems pretty confident that not only we will have a season, but he thinks we will have a normal season. Now, me personally, I'm no expert, but I don't see how we can go from where we are right now to, in a few months, packing a couple 100,000 people into such a small area. Because people – They think about, the stands, they can fit, 72,000 people, somewhere in that range. But then you add all the people who have to work the stadium, not just inside, but outside and around as well. And then you add all the people who are tailgating, who don't even go to the game, who are just there to have fun. And then the bars all surrounding it, which if anyone's been into a bar in Baltimore for whether it be Orioles or Ravens, you're in there tight. You can hardly even get in there, and that's arms straight up doing the shimmy walk across people, hoping you don't step on anybody's shoes because then it could get a little rowdy. But, so I don't know how we can get from where we're at right now, where you can't go into a store without a mask and you can't, you have to have the social distance. How can we get from there? So in a few short months to packing all these people in such a small area, even if it is outdoors. Now, the NFL has also discussed that they're not going to give certain privileges to some teams, whether their state is more open than others, because that's just not fair. So, the Ravens have an outdoor stadium. What about all those teams that have indoor stadiums? How can they reasonably expect the state to allow 80,000 people to pack into the Superdome? I don't know how we'll get to that point in September. I'm really hopeful we will, but I just find it hard to bridge that gap to get all those people in that tight of an area.
Yeah, it's really interesting to me because there's a lot of secondary and beyond factors that play into this. Like you talked about, there would be so many different states that are involved. And not only everyone thinks about the actual event itself, but think about the travel to get there, right? You're moving. So staying on the Ravens, how many people do you think travel to a game? You got to think about the 53-man roster, plus the guys that aren't going to dress. They're going on the plane too, plus the coaching staff, plus like you talked about it. You have, your equipment managers, all those people. The Ravens have their own video, their own crew as far as media, and they're on the same plane. So there's so many things that go into making a game happen and then think about this. So for example, if we talked about this off air, but if college campuses don't open and kids aren't in class, live, not virtually, but live, then is college football going to take place? And if it doesn't, why would the NFL take place? You know what I mean? So it's just, there's so many things that are moving around that I'm starting to think that if there's a way they can make it happen, it's going to have to be without fans. And I also will say this, we use Zoom. Whoever can find a way to adapt and create something that will make it more interactive for the fans is going to make a killing.
Yeah.
But that's where this year, that's where I see it going. I don't know if I can think about it. People aren't in church. People aren't in school. Like you said, how the heck are we going to get in a stadium?
There's no place that I can think of where more people gather in a smaller area than a pro or college sport event. I mean, there's just none. I mean, the amount of people that are just around the stadium, not even in it, just the hundreds of thousands of people that just pack the surrounding area. I agree with you. I think there will be football, but I find it hard to believe that there will be fans in the stands. And I think you're right. I think that if anyone's watched, I watched every minute of the match. I believe it was actually the match too, the Tiger Phil with Tom Brady and Peyton, and I thought it was awesome. Despite some serious weather struggles, I had a blast watching it, and I think that it kind of showed that there is an opening there where we can be more involved. They can kind of pull back the curtain a little bit and let us in a little more. And I think you're right. I think the first, I don't know if that's up for the television networks or the individual teams or whoever can figure out a way to let us get a little bit more closer to the team and kind of get maybe even interactive in some ways. I don't know how they could do that, but that's the key to I think the future, at least the near future, the close future, because I just don't know how, unless they can somehow manufacture a test to where you can get instant results and get a large quantity of it for a relatively good price. I don't see how it happens, but I do think there will be football. So that's what matters most, right? Priorities, Jimmy.
Well, this is the other thing I should say that could be another option. They could socially distance, so maybe they open up 1/4 of the stadium, to capacity. Like, it would be weird to walk in there and have every fourth seat and like no concessions, like you could bring your own food in or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's also
not. Would that even be worth it? So you're gonna have what, like 20,000 people in the stands spread out? I mean,
right. And then, of course, what happens when people get rowdy if there's alcohol being served and they start breaking the rules and and stuff like that?
You know how it is when they score. You want to hug your buddies. You want to high five the neighbors. Yeah,
absolutely. So it's really unfortunate because I think that it's funny to me because we do this show. Glenn and I both are huge sports fans. You learn that it really is a part of your life. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think sports are important for people. I think they've made sports are a reflection of who we are as a society in a lot of ways. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's important for us to have it. We need to find a way to have it. I'm not saying it's the most important thing. Like, kids need to be back in school and people need to be able to practice their faith and, whatever it might be. But it is also an important part of society throughout the world. And so it's going to be really interesting to see what happens next. If I had to bet, like you said, I think that it's going to be similar to – that was a good analogy with the match, where they're going to have to figure out a way to, peel back the curtain a little bit, let us get in, and that's how they're going to have to start the season. So let me ask you this, Glenn. Looking at your crystal ball, if the season is delayed or – okay, so let me back up for a second. Right now it's kind of truncated as far as the offseason program goes. What teams does it hurt the most, and where do you see it hurting the Ravens? Not specific teams, what teams in general?
Yeah, I think in general the teams with obviously new coaching staffs. I mean, if they're bringing in a new offensive or defensive system, they're going to be hindered by this. If you're bringing in a new quarterback, the guy that's going to lead your team that obviously needs to know the playbook inside and out, he's going to be a little bit behind the eight ball. And I think teams with experienced coaching staffs and with generally overall a pretty high roster return, which the Ravens are fortunate enough to have, I think they will be greatly benefited, certainly early in the season. Now, if the season is to go as scheduled, fans or not, I think eventually all teams will kind of catch up. But in the beginning, I think the advantage certainly lies with the team that has the returning coaching staff and for the most part, returning players. But to me, the interesting thing will be where do they play these games? Because if they find that indoor or outdoors, if they find that there's a drastic difference in that, I don't even know if they are able to find this information. But if they are able to find that, then that could mean they can't play indoors. Well, they're not going to let certain teams play at home and not others, so they're going to have to find neutral fields. So where are those neutral fields are? I mean, most people are pointing to Florida as a place that has a lot of space that they could use. I think there was some talk of Disney being involved somehow. But that's my question is where will it be played if there's no fans? Because I think if there's no fans, it's going to be interesting. Like why, if there's no fans, why do we have to play in the home state cities? Because the whole point is that you have the home field advantage because your fans will come and cheer for you and cheer and boo them. But I don't know. Like, are you going to make Seattle fly all the way to the East Coast to play a team when there's no fans in the stands? It doesn't quite make sense. So maybe they all go to Arizona or they all go to Florida and they all play there. That, to me, will be the interesting decision if they can't get the fans in the stands.
Yeah, that is really interesting. I also wonder, this is a really off-the-wall thought, but I do know that some teams have more resources as far as, like, travel. So the Patriots, of course, have their plane, but I don't think every team has a plane.
No.
The plane. So I wonder if some of those rules and requirements by the owners and things that they need to provide their players for general safety is going to change. I think that could be something we see evolve as well. Because like you said, if there's a possibility to say, all right, Seattle, you're playing the Rams, take your planes, meet in Nevada. We have to take them in the desert and fly back home. Like, do you see what while that's weird, not every team right now can. Every team can do that, but not the same way the Patriots can because they have their own plane, right?
Yeah.
So I'm really interested to see what will happen. I really hope that football's back. And seriously, right?
Can't do this anymore. This no sports thing is driving me crazy.
I'm tired of watching Madden highlights and guys do stuff on Instagram. I can't take trick shots anymore.
Yeah, I'm done seeing the workouts, the players working out at home in their driveways. I'm done with it. I need to see real football. And you know what? If fans are missing it, go ahead and turn on the Lamar Jackson highlights of last season because I know you think you remember them, but you forgot a lot, and the guy's incredible.
Yep, and the other thing you can do if you're still missing sports, make sure to subscribe because we're going to keep you up to date, and we're going to keep this thing going and get you guys through this quarantine out the other side.
Yep.
Subscribe. Give us a like. Let us know what you guys' thoughts are. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think that the season will resume as normal? Think there won't be any fans or any of the other scenarios that we mentioned? But hang in there, day at a time. 410 Sports Talk is here for you, and we'll be back soon.
See you.